Last but certainly not least is the library. Of course, Erin stepped out. We were close.
Are we waiting for the library to come back?
Yep. Looking for here.
Page.
My best for you. First, I want to apologize for my voice. I have a little bit of a cold, so my apologies. So good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, Town Council members, and members of the Budget Committee. Thank you again for this opportunity to present the FY25 library budget. My name is Erin Matlin. I'm the library director, and here with me is Donna Plant, my assistant director and head of technical services. First, I just want to take a moment to thank my hardworking staff for their commitment to providing excellent service on a daily basis. I appreciate it, and I know our patrons appreciate it as well. I also want to thank the Board of Trustees and the Friends of the Leach Library for their continued support and commitment to the library. Next slide. Do you have the... So, as always, I'd like to share stats and a snapshot of our services and what's coming for FY25. First is circulation. This is the main desk and usually the first point of contact for our patrons. Our numbers, as you can see, are increasing. The ones you see on this slide are items that get checked out by patrons. So you'll see from FY22 to 23 for our physical materials, they went up over 6%. And the digital materials from 22 to 23 went up over 15%. We have noticed that in library world, digital materials have increased tremendously, and that's obviously due to technology and people's lifestyle changes. So we are certainly staying on top of that because of the need. Our projection for FY24 is also on track to reach that combined number, and we anticipate FY25 to be even higher, with the expectation to join the GMILCS consortium, which I'll explain in a little bit. You will see the list on this slide is just a sampling of what our staff does at the circulation desk. All of the tasks listed help provide a better experience for our patrons. I want to highlight the line where it says manage museum pass reservations. We have 14 museum passes we just added, thankfully from the Friends, the Isabella Stewart Gardner. And we now have, as I mentioned in past meetings, a new system where patrons can reserve those passes from home, even from their phone. And so giving our patrons a better experience and service for that. Oh, of course.
With the new system as well, there is actually, depending on the pass, there are some passes where patrons do not even have to come into the library to pick them up anymore. They can actually access them directly through an email. So that's added a lot to accessibility and convenience.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
The next slide is for our reference department. This department you will go to usually get help with research, sign up for a computer, put a hold on for a book or a material. And it's also another very busy department. You'll see between FY22 and 23, we had over a 4% increase in our reference transactions. And we expect that we'll have even more this year, and of course in FY25, again, with the joining of the GMILCS consortium. Just like the circulation desk, our reference staff, who are all professional staff, have a lot to manage. That list below is just another snapshot of the services that we offer. I'd like to highlight under the heading of helping job seekers and share an interaction where my head of reference, Matt Fuller, assisted a patron one day with applying for a job online. that patron did come back about a week or two later to share with us that they had received the job. And so we were really happy that for that patron, and obviously to be able to provide that professional service. Something that I think goes a long way with a patron. Another service that we're offering that's relatively new is our notary service. We have been very busy helping out the clerk's department with that. And we have 3 staff that are notaries. And since January, which was our official service start, we have done over 140 notaries at our library. Another service that's provided another great experience for our patrons. We do hope that our patrons check in with us before they come for the notary, just because sometimes we're not all there, but we're happy to provide that service, and our patrons are often quite shocked that we are even offering the service. So we're excited about that.
Do you guys share or advertise that on your Facebook page?
We do, yep,
Okay.
and we've advertised it in other materials, any pamphlets or newsletters too, yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't know that.
Yeah, it's quite surprising. And we do have like a bookmark with our phone number and information at the clerk's office. So if there's someone does come there, they can call us instead of, we encourage people to call us because it may be a document that is too challenging for our staff or needs additional signatures. So we make sure that they have everything before they waste their time coming in. Yeah.
And quick
Yes,
note.
of course.
So I know Aaron and I talk a lot about the reference department being kind of a something separate from us, but I just wanted to add that Aaron and I actually both work at the reference desk as well. So
often.
the reference staff consists of all the staff that hold master's degrees in library science. So just wanted to note.
So in the library, there's a room, back right-hand corner. It's locked. It's where most of the history of the town is.
Yep,
I've-
that's the
I've
local history room.
Yeah, I've spent several hours in that room. How well does that, how do people come in and actually read about the history of the town?
Yes, we actually get, through the reference department as well, we get a lot of requests for genealogy help. So even the reference staff frequently goes back to try to find information, especially for actually people who don't actually live in the area. We get a lot of requests from people that live all over the country that have discovered they have ties to ancestors that were once in Londonderry, and we assist with those requests as well through the local history room.
Well, if you go back there and you read some of the town reports and everything, some people may be surprised to find out that Andy Mack was the town moderator at one point. And that town meeting used to start at about 6 o'clock at night and would go till 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning.
Oh.
So for those of you who think that this is painful this morning, can you imagine being at town meeting at 3 o'clock in the morning?
That's tough.
But if you go back and you read about it, a lot of it will tell you why we are, how we got where we are. So it's kind of interesting. But please proceed.
Thank you. So the next slide speaks to our library programs. As you can tell, the numbers below have been we've been offering more programs than the previous year, and the programs and the patrons are definitely showing up for it. In June of 2023, we compiled the results from a community survey, and 721 out of the 790 that responded shared the kind of programming they would like to see or to attend to. These numbers speak to us responding to those requests, and we'll continue to try to provide programs and events that our patrons would like to see. Again, we anticipate these numbers to grow, and we know that in FY25 we will be adding more patrons to Londonderry by joining GMILKs. Did you want to speak to anything?
I just wanted to note, and we'll go over this a little more in preceding slides, but we've also extended our outreach quite a bit, and I think some of the increase in attendance that we're seeing is that's a really big part of it, is that we've worked with more organizations to get the word out.
Yep, definitely.
What kind of organizations?
We're going to speak to that in 2 slides or 3 slides. I don't want to ruin the surprise. So the next slide is just a quick snapshot of our summer reading program, specifically that happened over this past year or this past summer. So as you can see, we had a strong showing of Londonderry patrons coming into the library, checking out materials, participating in programs, overall just enjoying the programs and services that we offer. I also just want to take this time to publicly thank the businesses that donated the prizes. Their support certainly helped make our summer reading program a success. You'll see that the total checkouts, I just wanted to point out that number is over 34%, we went up over 34% from last year. And the signed up for the program, 881, is up over 47% from last year. So these numbers are increasing, and we, again, anticipate them to go up even more as we move on into the next summer. One of the things we are focusing on is tracking is library visits. There are many reasons why patrons come into the library. A sample obviously is listed below. And some of the things that we have done to encourage this are having some kind of community type things in the library. We have a community puzzle, we have board games. These things are always out and about for people to enjoy, as well as subscriptions to a lot of the local papers or even non-local papers, so that, again, patrons don't have to pay for it. They can come in and read them daily, and obviously enjoy them in a comfortable, safe space. So, and again, we anticipate these numbers to go up. As we join the consortium, we'll have visitors from other towns visiting Londonderry, which is a really positive thing. Of course.
I also wanted to point out that our head of children's, Jennifer, has been really working on making the children's room a space that's involving a lot more play. And there's a lot of new features in there that encourage that. And we hope to only continue adding more. So just to note that as well.
Yeah, definitely come check it out. So I've been talking about joining GMILKS, and here it is. Let me quickly tell you about it in case you don't already know. GMILK stands for the Greater Manchester Integrated Library Cooperative System. It started back in 1984, so it's been around for 39 years, which is a good solid chunk of time to trust and really have a good space. So it's now grown to about 13 libraries. By joining this consortium, our patrons will definitely benefit. As you can see, our patrons would have access to over 1.4 million items, definitely a savings to Londonderry. And as we go further with joining the consortium and committing our membership with them, we will see the savings in many ways. One of them is we may not need to purchase as every book or every title because we'll have access to it with its other libraries. Our patrons will be able to go to these other libraries and take advantage of the services that they have by checking out materials that they have. A benefit of that is if someone goes to Derry and checks out a book, they can bring it back to Londonderry and we will return it for them. So to save them time in that sense. Or if it's even Manchester, we can do that too. And a lot of people commute from Londonderry to Manchester. They can use both those libraries.
Do we then need to pay for returning that book, like the mailing of it back?
It's all part of the consortium fee. So the patron will not pay. It's part of our membership fee.
Great, sorry.
The van service and everything was part of that fee.
Yeah, GMILKS comes with its own van service. So part of our fee goes towards paying for that van service.
Great.
Difference between interlibrary loan and this is pretty much our library card has reciprocity with the other.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
The current interlibrary loan service we use through the state also gives us 2 van deliveries a week. Through GMILKS, we would have 3 van deliveries a week, so things will come faster. They also we'll all share the same system. So someone who has a Leach library card will be able to go into the system and find something they want at, say, the Derry library. They can reserve it themselves in the system, and it won't involve any staff time having to process the item, get it on the van. So there's no separate system the way the state system works.
Thank you.
And again, with that new catalog, they'll be able to receive through the text messages and email notification. It'll be all automatic. So again, savings on staff time for that, but a great service for our patrons. I also would like to point out, again, reflecting back to that survey that I mentioned, this was one of the questions on that survey, and over 93% of the patrons that answered that survey wanted the connection with the GMILK. So again, another service that is clearly our community would like, and we're able to provide.
Is this all underneath the dues and subscription services? Because there's quite a jump.
Yes, I believe it is.
And is that going to occur yearly?
So there is an annual cost to the consortium, and that will be an annual membership, and there is an onboarding cost to it as well, which is only a one-time fee.
Do you know how much that is?
Which one?
The one-time onboarding.
Yep,
Yes,
so
I
Donna's
can
going to speak to that.
So the onboarding cost that GMILX has given us as an estimate is $24,300. None of that is actually going to be included in the budget through the town, because the trustees have agreed to pay for the majority of that through their own account. And we are also doing some fundraising to make up the rest of it. So the only increase that we've proposed for the FY25 budget in terms of GMILX is going to cover a partial year of our first year of membership.
What is the yearly cost of membership, if you don't mind me asking?
Sure. So the best way GMILX could estimate that for us is they basically factored us into what the cost would have been if we were a member this current fiscal year. So we anticipate that there could be a small increase in the membership fee going forward, because this is a factor for their fiscal year 24. So they gave us a number of 41,183. The first year we anticipate having a partial year membership, because we're looking at actually rolling out and going live fall of 24. So we'll have a couple months where we won't actually be members yet, that they're going to prorate it for us.
And do they bill out on a calendar year or a budget year?
They are on a fiscal year, same fiscal year that we run on.
Great.
So our bill will be due July 1st every year.
That's pretty high. Have you guys thought about different ways to offset that cost anywhere, cost savings?
So we did move some money in our budget for FY25. We moved about 10 grand out of our books and periodicals line to move into those dues and subscriptions to help pay for that, because we know that we may not need to spend, again, purchase as many items. And then we also moved, I believe it was out of the general supplies line, we moved 2 grand again out of that toward that cost to help support that as well.
When you asked the question, did you say it was going to cost us 50 grand a year?
Did I say?
When you got 93% of people said that they want this service, did you tell them it was going to cost the town $50,000?
We did not know. At the time, we didn't know the cost. We knew of the service, but we didn't know the cost, and we were exploring that at that time.
There are also some other ways that aren't necessarily reflected in the budget for savings. So one good example is that GMILX has its own basically IT support. So right now, with our own system by ourselves, we rely heavily on the town's IT to help us whenever things go wrong. With joining GMILX, since all those libraries share the same system, we have a systems person. So we would actually turn to them instead of town IT. So that's something to consider in terms of a savings that wouldn't necessarily be reflected in our budget.
Do we pay anything for the current service we're using?
Yes, we pay. So our catalog system is definitely behind the times.
Very
And
much so.
It's actually intended for school libraries. So we're using it in some very creative ways, and it is absolutely not meeting patron expectation in terms of technology. We pay less than $1,000 a year for it.
All right, so basically what you're saying is you get
It
what
would
you pay for.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very much so.
So we would ultimately save that less than $1,000.
I'm just,
Yes.
Yeah, it
Listen.
does not, in the system the current we have now, does not have the ability to offer any of the services that this new catalog will be able to offer.
So that would replace.
Yes, oh, yes, absolutely.
And
Yeah.
GMILX comes with that whole catalog system.
Yes. Yep. And we have looked into upgrading our catalog. If we were not going to join GMILX, we looked into upgrading the catalog, and the cost would actually be more, and the service would not be as grand, and we would still be, again, like I like to refer to, on our island. We would not have access to those other libraries. So this is a really great benefit.
okay.
And it seems like one of the biggest benefits is having access to a college library.
Yes.
So I think having that part of the whole resource will be huge for people who may want to partake in that.
Okay.
The next slide is pretty impressive. And so, as you can see, Londonderry is literally surrounded by GMILK's libraries. So again, it only makes sense that we join and offer our patrons more. And I also want to make note that there are about number of our patrons pay for at other libraries to be members of those libraries, just to have the advantage of having that GMILK's connection. So 481 may not seem like a big number, but those are 481 of Londonderry residents that are paying other libraries to get the service that we should be able to provide, which is frustrating. And as you can see, 128 of those patrons go to Derry, and we want them to come here. We like Derry, but we like them here. So
I did the math out on that a little bit, so just to use our example, our non-resident fee for someone who wants to have a card at the library but doesn't live in Londonderry is $50 a year. So if that's about the price for those 481 Londonderry residents that are going elsewhere, that's over $20,000 a year that we can save people paying out of pocket for that access.
Okay, cool. Please proceed.
So we talk about outreach. So we've really stepped up our outreach services. I feel, and my staff as well feels, that it's important for us to connect with the community and share our services and make those connections. So all of the experiences listed below allowed us to reach members of the community and make connections with organizations that we will continue to have positive experiences and relationships with. That picture there was from the Senior Expo that was wonderfully put on by our Senior Resource Committee. And that, as you know, had quite a few vendors there. So we were able to make some connections with those vendors, which hopefully will result in some library programs in the future. Another one is the Ghosts and Legends program that was co-sponsored by the Derry Public Library. That was a program that was put on at the Derry Opera House. I believe it had over 300 people. No, I'm wrong.
No, it was
Sorry.
128.
128. Okay. 128 people attended. What was great about sponsoring with Derry is that we were able to cut the cost of that program in half for both of us. So we shared the cost on that program, but still provided a great experience. And our patrons really enjoyed it as well. And so did the Derry patrons. Another thing that's relatively new to this year is our Read Local book discussions at the local restaurants. That has been met with great success. And again, working with local restaurants and supporting local restaurants just through a book group has been really great for them as well. So we're excited about that. Did you have any questions about the outreach? Okay, just wanted to follow up. So our next slide just shows some pictures around the library. So that top left one is from that program at the Derry Opera House. That's Jeff Bellinger in the middle. And then the one on the bottom left is from our Bells program that we'll actually be having this December as well. That was very well attended. You'll see in the bottom right, that is called our Talk Box. That is located in the back of the library. It is a soundproof phone booth, if you will, where someone has a little desk. It has a light, a vent, a chair, so you can take a phone call, you can do a private Zoom meeting, and it is soundproof. So if you'd like to come in and check it out, I encourage that. But that's been well used by our patrons. Even if they just wanted to quietly study, and our study rooms are booked, they can use that space. So, and so in closing, I just want to share our goals for FY25. Obviously, we plan to join the Greater Manchester Integrated Library System. With that, we'll be introducing a new library catalog. And by joining this consortium, we'll be able to extend our outreach even to more other of those member libraries. And then also by doing that, it will improve our user convenience and accessibility. So I ask that you support your town library to move forward and continue to provide Londonderry community with services they deserve and approve our budget, please. So, do we have any questions?
Any further questions? Yes, please.
I'm just curious, try to account for the salary increase from the fiscal year '23 to the proposed budget. It's about a 43% increase.
All for their personnel policy, is my understanding.
Yes, we have a different personnel policy than the town.
What
Can you
does that-
explain what that
Yeah,
means?
what does that mean?
So we have the 3% and certainly, Justin, if he wants to chime in, he can. We have a 3%, just like the COLA, and then there's a 5%, up to 5% merit increase.
So-
So it's preparing for that assumability
Yeah,
that that 5%
that
will
speaks
be.
to the year-over-year budget, but the 23 actuals came in at just under 800,000, but you're budgeting 1 million, so it's about a 40%, if I did the math correctly, increase.
Is some of that the healthcare cost, healthcare increase, Mike?
No, this is just salaries.
I can confirm
adding
that
personnel?
We're not adding.
we're not adding any
personnel.
personnel. We're staying at the same staffing level as
I think my math
current
might be right. It
fiscal
might be a
year.
20% increase, but
So I believe, and I mean, if Justin wants to confirm, I believe that any increase was
just the
solely
normal.
the normal increase. We did not ask for any
That
additional.
line should not be reflecting the health insurance.
No, it should not.
No,
No, I don't believe you guys were fully staffed last year, correct?
No, we're not.
So that would be part of the reason why, is they're not fully staffed, so their actuals wouldn't reflect those expenses because those people weren't, the positions weren't paid. Now that they're fully staffed, we budget based on fully staffed.
Sure, sure.
So
understood.
that's why you're seeing that difference between the actual versus what we're budgeting.
And that's a 2-year lag, right? We're talking about the 23 actuals versus the
Correct.
25 budgeted.
Yeah, 8%.
Correct.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Yep.
Any further questions for the library?
I just wanted to ask. We have our vice chair of the board of trustees here, Kim. I just wanted to make sure Kim didn't want to add anything before. You good?
Are you good?
Listening to everything, it seems
Okay.
like the other three major departments take care of the town's bodies. We tend to take care of their minds.
True.
Sorry, just one more technical question, Justin, you might be able to answer this. So the default budget for dues and subscriptions is $20,000. The 24 budget was $4,000. What accounts for that jump if it's just year over year?
That's the
I think I can
Gmails.
answer that. It's Gmilks. That's where the Gmilks membership is going, and the dues and
But if that's
subscriptions.
an ad, is that, how does that get into a default budget?
So they have entered into the agreement, I believe, which means it's a contractual obligation on behalf of the town.
It's a flaw in the law. To be perfectly honest, SB2, which is what we operate under for default budget, should be completely overhauled and rewritten by the legislature. It does no, it is not helpful to us. It needs to be completely rewritten.
I understand, thank you.
Thank you.